Welcome to Fluxedo Junction. I'm Scott Kuchler. Each episode, we bring you the best new music of all genres from throughout the world, and this week we have a special treat, an interview with Mark Kendall of the band Great White. The band is going to be on tour throughout the winter, in addition to preparing to go back into the studio, and they're also a part of a new documentary called Metal Meltdown, and we're going to talk to Mark about all of those things, so let's jump right into it. Great White released Elation back in 2012, and you're going back into the studio early at the beginning of this coming year, and you're working again with Michael Wegner, who you haven't worked with since 1984. Are you feeling good about it?
Yeah, he's got quite a track record, with all the bands he's worked with, Ozzy, Metallica, the Alice Cooper, the list is just enormous, 94 million record sales. So, he's really fun to be around. I'd seen him on the 2 cruises ago, on the Monsters of Rock cruise, and talked to him for a bit, and just thought it would be fun, change our environment, go to Nashville in his studio. It's state-of-the-art, he's a taskmaster. I just think it'd be fun,
Did you like working in Nashville? Had you worked down there before? I've been there a bunch of times, but I've never actually done any recording or anything down there.
Nor have I. No, I haven't. That's where his studio is, so we're just going to get a house right near the studio and kind of live there for a couple months, I guess.
You'll probably really dig it. I mean, I've been living in New York almost my entire life, and I used to have to go to Nashville once a year because I worked for a record company that did a lot of Americana music. So at least once a year I'd have to go down there for a session or something. And I always had the Northerners sort of impression of the South. And then when I got down there, it was actually a really incredibly hip music town of all different genres. You sort of get jaded thinking, it's all country music down there, but there's everything happening down there. It's a great city.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. A few rock band guys live down there. The music scene it's difficult to get in any kind of a loop because it's almost like the wrecking crew as far as the musicians that play on the records down there. If you want to be a session guy, you're going to have your hands full. I know that there's a lot of guitar players like Johnny Hyland. I know he plays on a lot of the country records and stuff. I don't know. But yeah, I've heard it's just an incredible place. We're gonna film the whole time we're doing this record. We're having a small little crew come down and just kind of be flies on the wall, and that way we can include that for the fans. They can kind of see the making of, behind the scenes, if you will, with the new album. So it's going to be fun. We're going to have the cameras around everywhere we go. We'll go to eat and have the cameras there, whatever. So
now, is that part of the is that all part of the Metal Meltdown documentary, or is that a separate project?
Oh, that's a separate thing. We were just thinking it would be fun for the fans if we film the making of our new record.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, well, you know what? In this day and age, there's always opportunities for value-added type stuff in so many different avenues, whether it's YouTube or Ustream or just your own website, to hit the fans directly with content yourself. I mean, it's almost like you don't even need a record company or a production company or a film company to do that stuff for you anymore. The good side of the technology is bands like you guys or a lot of other people have the opportunity to just get that stuff out there directly yourself.
Sure. Over the years, as far as our fans go, they haven't really seen a lot of behind the scenes with us. The only way they get to know us is by hearing interviews or whatever. So, and maybe a quick meet and greet. So this is, I think, me being a fan myself, I dig stuff like that. Seeing my heroes, kind of off the stage and just chatting or doing whatever they do during the day, or even jamming kind of candidly, you know.
Oh yeah, I'm a sucker for anything like that. I've always said that, and I've found other people who agree with it. It doesn't matter what the band is or whether I like the band or not. I can watch any rock documentary. You know, it could be the Metallica documentary they did a few years ago, or it could be Let It Be by the Beatles. It doesn't matter. I love watching documentaries with nationally renowned bands or internationally renowned bands,
Sure.
because I love seeing. I play in a band myself, just a little garage band locally, but I love seeing that these guys. It doesn't matter what level you're at. It's always the same arguments. It could be Paul McCartney and George Harrison are having the same argument that I have with my bass player.
Exactly. They want to see the arguments, the personality, and get to know you a little better. That's one thing I noticed, like when we bring, just with our phones on the road, if we, do selfies at the airport, the fans go more crazy for that than, an advertisement for a gig or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's something about that candid, just bringing them closer to us that I seem to enjoy more than anything.
Nice. So how would you say you've changed as a musician in the last few years? You've been at this for quite some time now, and there must have been certain progressions in the way you approach things creatively and intellectually over the years.
Well, I mean, believe it or not, my thinking and everything is still kind of old school, like, like we don't email our parts to each other or anything like that. We pretty much do it just like we've always done, as far as we get together in a room and jam out ideas, just the way we've always done it. As far as the way I write, I don't do anything elaborate like big 24-track demos or anything like that. I still just put it, well, I used to use cassette players. Now I use my phone. And I don't really approach it, differently. I seem to, the creative juices flow pretty hardcore when I know I have something coming up, like an album or something. And, I walk around like a zombie. That's what I've always done, just thinking of riffs in my head. So, gosh, man, I mean, just not that much has really changed. I might spend a little less energy in getting the same result. That's the only, maybe, as far as changes, like you kind of learn over the years that it's almost like you refine your energy and you can, you still get the same result. Like I might have overspent my energy on something that I can still get that musically without, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but.
No, I think I understand. It's probably something that people don't think about very often, like the state of mind that a creative person has to get themselves into to be able to do what they do. I mean, if you don't really stop to think about the craft of it, everybody thinks, and I don't think this just goes for music. I think it goes for any sort of performing or creative arts. You don't really, we're used to seeing the end result. We're used to seeing, the band on stage with all the lights and all the effects and the crowd, or we're used to seeing that finished product, whether it's a CD or just the download on iTunes or the artwork. A lot of people don't realize how much blood, sweat, and tears and just emotional energy goes into the process for a lot of people.
It's really more mental than even physical. I used to, when I was a younger man, I just overthink everything, what I mean? And get a little bit more wound up than I do now. But like I said, as far as creative-wise, I can get the same result without spending all that mental, getting myself too, overly excited or whatever. I don't know. It just seems when you're younger, you just spend a lot of energy, and it's kind of wasted in a way. But it's all good. I mean, I'm still excited this is what excites me, is when we make new music. This is what gives me the motivation and all that, you know.
Now, how difficult is it, because having been on the road just as a record company guy with different bands, how difficult is it, I think I know the answer, how difficult is it to be on the road? How do you stay healthy and maintain some sort of normalcy with such weird hours that you have to deal with?
It's not, the only thing, I mean, nothing's hard about playing. It's the traveling does, that's the only thing that can wear you out is lack of sleep. But we take pretty good care of ourselves. I mean, like nobody drinks, and so we're kind of boring in that way. But we spend a lot of energy on stage. Give a maximum performance every time we get on stage. So, as long as we can get some sleep, we eat the best we can, and it's not really that big of a deal. Just if we can't get sleep, that's a little bit, that's a little irritating.
Are there any bands out there that you haven't shared the stage with yet that you still aspire to work with?
None I can really think about. I mean, we've done at least one show with almost every hero we have. I mean, and I doubt we played with probably every band, in festival settings or been on tour with somebody or at least played one-offs with almost everybody that I would consider my hero, except for possibly Santana. We've never played with them, but that would be maybe considered a strange bill, unless we played in Europe, because a lot of times, some of these festivals. I mean, we played with like Bob Dylan before.
That's great. To me, the stranger the bill, the better.
The same stage as Black Sabbath, so they get a pretty wide range of group, genres, if you will, on their festivals in Europe.
I've discovered that the more I'm 47 and I've been working in different aspects of the music industry for close to 30 years now. And, when you're younger, you tend to segregate music into different categories and genres because that's what defines you as cool at that point. But then as you get older and you start dealing with more and more professional musicians, you start finding out that those barriers really mean nothing. I've met more hip-hop guys who know so much about classic rock music, and I've met more rock guys who know about jazz or country. It's just, at a certain level, good music is good music, and the better the musician is, the more they seem to recognize that those barriers don't really mean anything anyway.
Yeah, you're right. Anything that has some kind of cool melody attached to it can pretty much win me over. I mean, and I've been through so many guitar players as far as people that made me want to play over the years. I mean, starting from like a young teenager. I mean, I was literally, there was nobody in the world except Carlos Santana for me. You know what I mean? But then as I got a little bit further along, then I discovered like, Alvin Lee and Johnny Winter and Hendrix and all. Well, Hendrix I knew from way before, but for some reason when I was like a really young boy, like 8, 9 years old, I would just sing along with the records, I had Cream, I had, Hendrix and The Doors, and I would like kind of sing along. But then when I learned guitar, I started listening to guitar, if that makes any sense.
Oh, yeah, it does. Actually, do you still own your first guitar?
You know what? I don't, and I hate that. Well, my very first guitar was a really cheap, I mean, it probably cost like, I don't even know, like $10 or something. It was the cheapest little Spanish. It wasn't even considered Spanish, I don't think, because it was a K acoustic, but it was a very cheap one, had steel strings on it, almost impossible to play. And but my first electric guitar was also a K, and I had it until I was about 14, and then I got my first real guitar was a Fender Telecaster in 1974. and that was really, before that, I used to borrow that guitar from this guy that played bass with me. He just happened to have that guitar, and he let me use it. But my first electric guitar, I sold to my a really good friend of mine that was just a beginner. His dad bought it from me for $5.
Oh, wow.
I know. It's really upsets me that I don't have it, but, when you're so young, you don't figure that, it's going to be, worth it or anything. It was such a piece of crap, but, yeah, that's the name of that tune.
Well, listen, we're just about out of time, but I got one last question for you. It's 30 seconds before the lights dim. Great White's just about to hit the first note of the night. What's going on in your mind?
I basically just kind of say a prayer and, and go out and just play my heart out. I'm usually a little bit nervous. Not nervous like, coffee flying out my nose and I'm just like a wreck, but just like a surge of energy. But not really a lot going on in my head. I just, once we're through the first song, I just keep it, high energy coming out of the gate,
Nice. Well, look, man, we're really looking forward to seeing you guys live. We're looking forward to the new album, and I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us today. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, man.
All right, man. Take care. We'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
All right, thanks to Mark Kendall for taking the time to speak with us. You can check out everything that Mark and Great White are up to on the web at officialgreatwhite.com. And if you happen to be on Long Island for the holidays this weekend, I'll be performing at Bartini Bar in Babylon, New York, this Friday, December 23rd, as part of the Bartini's Holiday Jam. Doors open at 8 o'clock. Come on down and say hello. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.